Hello. We are back. We're doing our 37th star today. Yay! We're getting there. It's a total of 46 stars on Mary's beautiful mantle, Our Lady of Guadalupe. And today's star 37 is Piety. Is that how you say it? I can never pronounce it. Piety.
I believe. I could be wrong.
And it is one of the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, piety. So we're gonna listen to what it is and all about it. Hopefully it explains what it is, because I had a hard time understanding what this was.
Well, think about pious people. You know what it is, you know.
Okay.
Okay, so
holy people.
Yeah, holy. Yeah, exactly. So the thing that I wanted to say was, if you look here, Jeanette said we're on the 37th. Here it is. And this, there's no way it could have been made by a man-made. In her eye is microscopic images that they discovered years later. So I'm going to have a link in the bottom to tell you about the scientific proof. There's no way it could be man-made. And so that will be below. And also there's a link to all of the stars. It's actually on YouTube. It's a little easier to follow than going in my album on Facebook, which going in albums on Facebook sometimes is hard. But if you want, you can look below, and there's a link that to all the YouTube ones. So, all right. 37.
And Hen, have you made them public? So in case anybody wants to share with a friend and
Yes.
they're not really necessarily your friend,
Yes,
they can still find it. Actually, no, on YouTube you can find it. You don't have to be friends on YouTube. So yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can do it with a friend, guys. You can do it with a friend. You can call them and just do it on the phone, or however you'd like. Yeah.
And we just did confession, which was it after the 35th? I think the 35th star, you do confession. So, all right, guys, let's go. Piety, one of the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit. The pious may travel the same road as the impious, but they see the surrounding landscape entirely differently. They walk into gardens and notice that the flowers speak, the birds sing, even the insects chirp, telling of God's love. That's what I hear in the NDEs. The impious notice the flowers, but focus on the mud on their shoes, the gardener's mistakes, and the hot sun burning their necks, all of which close their hearts to God and remind them that beauty comes tainted with annoyance and pain. The pious ponder the good news preached by the one who came from the Father's house, who said that the kingdom is like a jewel that projects a light different from the sun, a light infinitely more replenishment than a sunrise, a splendor so rich that to possess it is worth selling everything. The impious do not wish to sell, for they see only loss and no reward. The pious honor the holy and run to fulfill their sacred duties. The impious find religious obligation an impediment to freedom and a lackluster chore. I'm going to be honest, I did in the beginning. While the pious gave to God what is God's, and to Caesar what is Caesar's, the impious give to Caesar what is God's alone. The pious and the impious descend together in the same deep valleys of injustice and woe. The gorgeous mansions touching miserable shacks, racist collisions, and sexual abuse. State-sponsored death from the newly conceived to the elderly. The marriage of what is spiritually forbidden. The flaunting of hedonism before children's eyes. Both the pious and the impious may believe that the trajectory of the world is a downward curve, but piety is not naivete, and the impiety sees wrongly. As the pious walk along the valley floor, they see evil, but know the dawn will appear and be triumphant. Their penetrating glance of faith captures luminous rays hidden from the human retina. The impious see evil and know that goodness does not always win. They contemplate how by late afternoon the sky will darken, and soon the night's firmament will be void of stars. For both the day of death will arrive. In contemplation of the replenishment face of God, the pious will see that their most extravagant dreams were insignificant along the glory of a presence that satiates all desire. The impious will see that their vision was a smokescreen which hardly resembled reality at all. Wow. Powerful. Let me tell you, I'm reading a book right now. It's about fasting. It's called the Pleasure Trap. And oh my gosh, it's so good. I'll leave a link to it below, but it is true. Both the pious and the impious, I didn't realize they were opposing, but apparently they are. Go ahead.
Impious. What does it mean? It means not showing respect or reverence, especially for a god. The emperor's impious acts on the church of a person or act wicked, impious villain. So that's what impious means, not using reverence or respect.
I haven't heard that word a lot, but
I've never heard it before.
I don't remember hearing it, but I've heard it, but I don't remember in what context.
Yeah.
But
so I just wanted to in case anybody had a question like I just did.
Yeah.
There you go. Sorry.
I think it's important that we define words. It's very important. So, but I did not think of, I never thought of I thought of piety as a holy person, so I thought an unholy person, which an unholy person is impious, so it makes sense. But the point is that we both see the evil, but we see it differently, and we see the ending differently. Christians, we know that God wins in the end, and that's a comfort to us. That is huge. So when we are working on I'm going to put an article about piety, but let me just go in here a little bit. But when we're working on our piety, you see, they see annoyance, or in the beginning, I found an annoyance in having to pray. But now the more you do it, the more you get ingrained in it. It's not painful anymore. I love to pray now. So I love when I go to mass to do the rosary now that Jeanette, you were saying about. I love it. It's like so much more. And it's 15 minutes, guys. It's like, there's no excuse not to pray the rosary. I'm sorry. And I'm going to tell you, if you really know the mysteries, it's easy. I just take an acronym and I memorize it like that. Like ASCCC is the sorrowful. So I'm like, oh, if I'm out, or I look it up, I keep in my phone different albums, and one of the albums is called Rosary Acronyms. And so when I'm about to do the rosary, I pick up my phone and I look at the acronym. Like joyful is AVNPF. So I know A is for Annunciation, V is for Visitation, N is for Nativity, P is for Presentation at the Temple, F is for Finding Jesus in the Temple. So Jeanette has a book.
And they have these little books.
I don't always have the book with me, but I
have it in my purse. You know why? Because there's this beautiful prayer before the rosary. that
Right.
is amazing, because here's where you put in your intention of the
Right.
actual rosary you're praying. And then you have, in case you're a little bit flustered, you have all the mysteries and everything. In the front, it has a little diagram of the actual rosary, in case you're a little bit not used to doing it. Even me, and I do it every day, I still look to make sure I got the right mystery in the little thing. As you see, this is very well used. And in the back, they have additional, if you have a little bit more time, or you're praying for
Can you
something
show
that
them the front of that so they know where to
Yeah.
get it?
It's only $1 at
What-
any gift shop,
But
at any gift
and
shop of any
bring it
church,
closer, Jeanette.
of any gift shop of any church.
I
They're
can't.
only $1.
Okay, so send me a picture of
Yeah,
that. I'm gonna put it
Amazon even has them. Amazon has them for $1. And the
But
reason why I
lose
love them
things.
is because they also have these pictures. So what I do is, when I'm praying the mystery,
It's good.
I look at the picture.
It's good.
Every Hail Mary, I look at the picture, and it keeps you centered on the actual mystery of what you're praying, because sometimes you go away with the Hail Marys thinking of, what am I going to make for dinner later? Because there's so many Hail Marys. But this keeps you centered because you have the little pictures there. And it also has not only the actual mystery, but it says on the bottom, like, carrying of the cross, I desire virtue of patience. And then you start praying. So it kind of helps you knowing what you're asking for at that mystery. I just love it. And at the very end, like I said, there's extra additional prayers. You have the all the basic prayers, and you can read them, and eventually, after doing it day after day after day after a year, they will get in your mind.
Right.
They'll get put in there. There's also another prayer which is amazing, guys. It's prayer of Our Lady of the Rosary. That prayer, I love it. And not everybody does it, but it's very important, because in this prayer, they actually show where Mary is. Mary is the intermediate. She's the messenger to Jesus. We are going through her to Jesus, and it's in this prayer. That's why I love it. Anyway, that's enough. Sorry, I just wanted to share that little book. Only $1.
No, that's important.
And they even have smaller ones, guys. They have the regular size. I like the blue one because it has everything I need. But then they even have smaller ones, about that size, also like that, that you can fit in your little rosary bag if you have a little rosary bag in your purse. I like to carry my rosary at all times in my purse always, because if I ever have an emergency or anything, I grab onto that rosary. I wrap it around my wrist and I grab onto it, man. I go through, I mean, they have to pry it out of my hands when they put me through an MRI, because I'm like, I really need to hold on to it. When I had an emergency once, they had to put me on an MRI, and I'm like, oh, please let me hold on to my rosary.
Well,
No,
you can make a rope rosary that you could take in with you.
One, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna do that. But anyway, I'll stop talking now.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is I am not good with, like, I already carry too much in my purse. Natalie can tell you that. So I moved to a smaller purse that it still has my TERESA of AVILA on it. And I don't want to put too much in it, but I have in there the pouch that you gave me for my birthday, and I put my rosary in it. So I carry my rosary all the time, but I'm not going to put a little book in there because I end up pulling stuff
That's
out.
fine. You guys
stuff.
have your phones.
Yeah.
We're creature of habits.
For me, it's perfect. I go in my albums and I look, and I'll put them up there so that when I'm in mass, I just look at AV and PF, and then I'm like, okay, so I know my mysteries. So when I pull out my rosary, I can focus on which one, and I have the images in my mind. My mind is a playground. I remember, so that's one thing that I remember is the Gospels and all that. So, and the with the mysteries. So I just put that in there, and I look, and I have those images. I pull them up in my mind, and I focus while I'm doing my Hail Mary. And I'm going to tell you something. It's so I used to have to say the scripture line with each one, because Jeanette and I used to do spiritual warfare, and I loved it. And I still do. Sometimes I still do it. But I focus now on the whole of the mystery instead of each line. And I like doing that sometimes. So, and it's a 15-minute thing. I do it right in Mass. And so each one, and it gets you more familiar with with your mysteries, doing it that way. And it also makes me think, oh, I didn't realize, because sometimes when you get into a rote, you don't always learn because it's a rote. And I'm like, oh, so after he did the wedding at Cana, okay, so then he went and did Sermon on the Mount. So like things start to come together for you. That's what they call the Rosary, is the gospel on a string for a reason. And just, so I'm just saying that the Rosary is really, you want to do it, because you will gain so much more than losing 15 minutes, trust me. So that's what I want to say about that. Any kind of prayer is the road to piety. And Saint Teresa of Avila, I just put some links up. She's like the master of prayer, which she happens to be my patron saint. So I'm like, okay, so she's my patron saint, so I know what to focus on. It's prayer. When you find your patron saint, what they focused on, there's a reason that they called you to them, or that you were attracted to them. So you should read every saint work they've ever done, and you should do every study they've ever done, or they're in.
There's so many, guys, there's so many ways to pray.
Oh gosh,
prayer is not just reciting words.
right.
There's so many ways.
Lectio
Spending
Divina.
time with Jesus in your mind, spending time in a godly way is prayer. You know, prayer.
And if
prayer,
you see, there's a lot of people on Facebook, like, and they go out in their garden. I think it was Brenda. They go out in their garden and they hear the birds, and they have a little Mary grotto there, and they sit and they bring their prayer to nature. And you know, you could go to the park and do it. You can
watching a spiritual movie, watching something that keeps your mind focused on what you need to be doing and how you need to be living.
Pious, yeah.
That's being pious. You know, keeping yourself surrounded by godliness. You know, when you're going in the car somewhere, you can put on 88.3, or you can put on your favorite Christian music, or your chants, or you can put us, or you can put anything to do with God. And that's another form of praying.
Well,
you are wanting to spend all your time with.
But you need at minimum 15 minutes just focused on prayer, not like listening to something, because spiritual reading is very important and there's place for it. But you need specific prayer time where you are talking to God at some point in your day, 15 minutes. So yes,
I talk to God all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord, help me through this right now.
But most people don't, and they need to know that 15 minutes. That's why Saint Ignatius exercises. You learn. You need your 15 minutes. And if you extend it to 30, wonderful. You're going to get more from God. Yeah.
This is a great book that will enlighten you and teach you how to do that 15 minutes twice a day. And it's an amazing, it's called 40 Weeks.
And there's a lot of studies with it out there.
It's called 40 Weeks. It's the Sacred Story study. And it's an Ignatius path to Christ with sacred story prayers. And it's an amazing study, guys. If you ever want to, like, having a hard time, like, that helped me, because I'm such a person that is always doing stuff. As you see, you know, she's talking and I'm listening, but I'm doing stuff as I'm listening because I have to keep moving. It's an ADD thing, I guess. But anyway, that helped me. It's really hard for me to quiet my mind.
And there's studies with it everywhere. But if you don't want to do a study and you want to do it alone, go and watch the videos on Formed. I'll put a link that you can, they go through, I don't believe they go through every one, but
No, they do 4 at a time. They do 4 chapters at a time. So there's
Yeah.
like 6 videos or 10 videos, and it's a
Right.
40-week
right.
thing. But it
So-
sounds like really long, but it's not, because
It's not.
it's like a little reading, and you
Right.
can use the reading as part of your 15 minutes too.
But
So
what's great, yeah, because that's Lectio Divina. But what's great is when in the videos, you will have the people they have gone through the book and they're going to give you their reflection, and believe it or not, their testimony on it. And these are people that didn't pray 15 minutes before. So that's why I say Saint Ignatius is a good, that particular study is a good one to do if you're a beginner, or for you to suggest. The problem is when people hear 40 weeks, it freaks them out. So you could just show them the videos and tell them while you're showing them the videos. But the point is that there are all kinds of studies to help you learn about the 15 minutes. Now we're about to do a program on the Saint Benedict, the rules of Saint Benedict, like Saint Ignatius. He has his own rules, and the rules of Saint Benedict, he started a monastery, and he has a quite a story, like supernatural stuff in his story. So we're about to do a program with it. We will probably cast it live. Jeanette, I'm not sure, can go to that because I think she's having a surgery.
no, I can't. I have my surgery the day before, and I don't think I'll be able to.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and I will live cast it so that she can see it. So of course you guys will see it too. So so there's, every saint has a process. Now, not everyone can understand Saint Teresa of Avila, but if you are the most famous book of hers, The Interior Castle, oh my gosh, guys, that is the book on prayer and learning to go closer to God, because she had an image. She used to have ecstasies and all, which I like mystics, but I'm very cautious of them. But she happens to be mine. So I think God deliberately had her call me out, because I'm not someone that is comfortable with the whole mystic things with their ecstasies.
Well, if you have a hard time with reading like I do, they have beautiful YouTube movies on her life that you can watch. They have some of them are like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, because that way you know, because it's a very long story of her life, and they go through every little thing that happened, and they are amazing. And
but
again,
it's great to look at that to start, but you got to get into her saint works. Some people don't like to
read, and unfortunately, some people don't like to read. I'm not a reader.
No. Focus.
I'm just letting you know, if they're like me.
I'm not done. Focus.
Well, you never let me finish.
Right. You didn't let me finish. That's why I'm telling you.
Shut up.
Her stuff is all on Audible, and there are videos on YouTube. If you can't read right now, I just put up videos. That's what I just said.
Okay.
If you love a saint, you can't use the excuse, I don't like to read. Some things you do that you don't like to do, Jeanette finds a way to do it. You know how she does it? She gets me to read it with her. Or she listens to an Audible. So we don't use the excuse we don't like to read. We have no excuse today not to read our saints every saint has their saint work. A movie is great, but it's not going to tell you about prayer. the work that she does on prayer. And that's the point to her, for me, her work on prayer. So whatever patron saint you have, they generally have done saint works. So you got to do a deep dive, and not wanting to read is not an obstacle, because we have so many tools. Jeanette loves Saint Teresa of Calcutta, and what does she do? She reads every meme on it. Every meme I see, I send her on it. She learns Saint Teresa of Calcutta, maybe not by reading Be My Light, but she has the Audible to Be My Light.
I listen to it.
Right.
I listen to it. It's beautiful.
So Jeanette, don't use that I don't read stuff, because you do read, but you
but I don't sit there and open a book and say, oh gosh, I can't wait to read this. I'm just not like that.
But Jeanette, you do, because you say, oh, I can't wait to listen to that Audible. So
yeah, that I do listen to Audible.
You do.
I do.
You Jeanette, when you saw Be My Light, you were all excited. Maybe you weren't thinking book, but you were thinking Audible, which is the same thing as the book. So and then every meme I see on Saint Teresa of Calcutta, I send you, and you know her quotes. Yeah. So that's the thing with people with ADD is they can't look at long stretch of time. So what you do with people with ADD is you take a little tiny piece like that. I send her every single meme on Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint Teresa of Calcutta, and I send it to Jeanette because I know that's the way she works. So if you know someone that has ADD and they say, I can't read this and that, you tell them, well, you can use Audible, and there's lots of quotes out there I'll be sending you. So don't let people use their excuses of their weaknesses, because there's ways to get around it. And Jeanette is a very pious person. That's why she doesn't even know she uses things to get around her reading. But she does. She uses me. She uses Audible. She uses her other friends. She's like, oh, let's do a study on that. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. So, pious people find a way, and don't assume you can't be pious if you're not a reader, because Jeanette's the example of a pious person, because she finds ways around her limitations. So don't worry about, we are so lucky today. Now, I think our whole society is ADD. That's why we have so many ADD people. Now, of course, the more genes that get spread out, the more, a disability gets put into the population. But the humans always find mutations, and they find tools to deal with those mutations. And we're so lucky today. There probably was ADD back in the 1500s when Saint Teresa of Avila was born. But guess what? They were doing things like Jeanette right now. She's getting up to get things to make her rosaries. You'll see her leave the camera. She's not listening. She's going and getting things to keep her hands busy. My daughter's like that. My mother used to get so frustrated with her in Mass because she couldn't stop moving. And I said, if she stops moving, she cannot absorb the information. So
no. That was my mom's doctor making an appointment, so I had to answer it. Sorry, guys.
Okay, but sometimes when she's moving, it's because she has to integrate the information. My mom would get so aggravated with my daughter because she wouldn't sit still in Mass. And I said, let her move, because if she's moving up and down, as long as she's not causing too much of a ruckus for others and being insensitive to others that are deep in prayer, I'm like, okay, fine, move, but move quietly. Or I would get her coloring that she could color. And if you are living the liturgy, you're going to know, okay, we're in this particular reading, and pull out, collect. If you're a teacher type, like me, I'm a teacher type, I collect things, and then I go and I look for things and I pull them out for the kids. You could pull them out for the kids on the day they're reading the book of Matthew. Get out a thing just of Matthew. If you're not collecting things, there is a coloring. Just put in Google coloring of St. Matthew. We're reading the Gospel of St. Matthew. Use it as an opportunity to teach them. They might be popping up and around and moving their fingers coloring, but that's the way ADD kids learn. So never let something be an obstacle because it's not. We have so many tools there. Whatever obstacle you have, go look for a tool to find a way to do it. So for me, I'm disorganized, so I make my own tools, or I go and find them on the internet. We are so lucky today. So
our word is piety.
Yes.
So we are going
pious.
to think about that word, and we're going to find 15 minutes in our day sometime to do the rosary.
But
today.
saints, remember, saints are the science of finding the science of the saints is the way to heaven. And so piety, they are the most pious people on earth. They're the chosen people. So we study them. So if you want to learn how to be pious, study the saint. Find, Jeanette, how did you find your patron saints? Can you give us a story of how they found you and how you found them?
Patron saints?
Right.
Well, you just, I just kind of heard some of their stories, and you kind of think about how they are like you and
right.
like them. Like that's one of the things that I want to be, is more loving toward everybody and treat everybody the same, and just take one person at a time and be patient. Patient is what I struggle with. And Mother Teresa, my goodness, how could you want to be like her?
You saw someone who you said, I want to be like them, right?
Yeah. So then I studied her life.
And they're trying to unite with God, but they're humans. So they can help us learn. They're the science of piety. So they can help us learn. How you pick your saint is sometimes they pick you. And Jeanette told me about the event, the relics of the church. It's the I'll link the video below, the treasures of the church. And it may be coming to a town near you. And guess what my grandson did? Now, he said, the priest that presents this for the Vatican, he goes around country to country, state to state, city to city, and town to town. And he said, sometimes your patron saint will choose you. And you know how they do it sometimes? By accident. You might find, and I never was one that connected with Saint Teresa of Lisieux, the little way. I am not the little way. I'm the big way. I'm always the big. My mom's like, why do you always have to have everything big? Because I like big. So she was never mine. But some people might find I found a dozen roses in the middle of the street when I asked God for a sign. And some people would say that was from Mother Teresa of Lisieux or Saint Teresa of Lisieux, who does the little way. No, but it wasn't that to me. To me, that was Mother Mary, because I was praying to Mother Mary, because I didn't understand then fully about the saints. So everywhere you are, you're going to pick up a symbol differently than someone else. Those roses meant to me something different than they'll mean to you. Your saint may find you in just one little thing. My grandson went to the event with his girlfriend in Jacksonville, and he dropped Saint Stanislaw of I forget the name, Pietys or something like that. I didn't know who that saint was, but I did, and didn't know I knew, but I only knew a little bit. And I looked it up for him, and I sent him the book on it, which he's never shown me. Joey, if you're watching this, I want to see that book next time I come out to the house. I sent him the book. So I wish I would have sent it to me and then looked at it and then sent it to him. So now I have to go to him. But anyway, he dropped it, and he's like me, very klutzy. I didn't drop any while I was there because I already had my patron saints, I guess. But in any case, now guess what? That is the saint to divine mercy. So now my grandson's ADD, so I send him everything on divine mercy. So what I'm trying to say is, piety is the science of the saints. Find your patron saint. Keep your ear out, just like we're learning about the angels. Now they're speaking to us more. The more you focus, the more you will hear them, and they bring you closer to Christ. So find your patron saint. Help your friends find their patron saint. Help your children. Do a whole study on the saints. I'm telling you, that is.
You can even put your saints like on a wheel or something with some friends. I think that's how we did it last time, because we have a Bible study with my girlfriends, Natalie, and so we do it on Tuesdays, and we wanted to have a saint for a year. So every year we do it. We pick a saint. So
for a year.
Yeah, so we pick some saints and we put them on a wheel, and then she circles the wheel, and whoever gets the saint. I got Saint Capistrano, which is a saint from Capistrano, and oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it when I got him, because my father, when I was a little girl, would take me in California to Capistrano to see the doves, because it's a special giant beautiful retreat, and I think it's like a monastery too, and it's in California, but we would drive because it's a little bit ways from where we lived. We lived in Norwalk and Anaheim, and so we would have to drive, but we went there like a couple times a year because my father loved to take pictures. He was a photographer, and so he would take pictures of these beautiful swallows and all these beautiful birds that Capistrano had. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot completely about this. And that was my saint for the year that I have to pray with and learn about. So it's awesome. So we all got a saint. Somebody else, I think Jean got Saint Christopher, and Sue got a saint that she loves, and I forgot which one it is. But yes, so we all have our saint.
And what study is that?
We sent you one. We sent you one because you weren't in the group, but you still wanted to do it. So I remember we sent you your saint. I'll have to ask Jeanette because she's the one in charge, and she wrote down everybody's names with their saints.
I didn't see that.
Yes, I'll send it back to you. But anyway, so that's how we did it.
What's the name of that study?
Oh, it was, well, we were doing a different study, but we just wanted to
learn
more about saints.
It was a creative activity.
Yes, so it was a couple of videos that Jeanette found on this lady that was teaching people on how to get to know and love saints more. And that's what she did. She says you can find your companion, a different one every year that you can add on to your regular companions.
Because they help us.
Them. You can
ask them to pray for you.
Exactly, and you get to know them, and oh my gosh, it was just a cool thing to do. So yeah, you just put a bunch of saints, or you can even draw out of a hat. Somebody can draw the saint, and then you can read about him, study about the person, and you can start praying with him or through him in heaven. And when you go to heaven, you'll say, "You were my saint for a whole year. We went through so much together." Whatever. Anyway, just a little thought.
But Jeanette had a shirt, Maximilian Kolbe, and it didn't really relate with her that much. And I was like, oh my gosh, because my daughter is 50% Ashkenazi Jew. So I'm like, I love that shirt. Where did you get it? And she's like, I'm going to give it to you. And I was like, I feel bad. She's like, no, I want to give it to you. So I now have a shirt with St. Maximilian Kolbe. Jeanette's always getting like shirts or jewelry, or, when you get your saint and you learn about them, you want reminders of them. They're like pictures of them. Put a picture of the saints you study up in your house on your altar and call them when you're praying. Put them in your phone. If you there's there's just so many ways to bring your saint. There's
An-
little tiny statues of each saint.
Another one of my favorite,
That's
Padre
one of her
Pio.
favorite.
I love Padre Pio.
And I touched Padre Pio's glove in South Florida years ago. I didn't mean much to me.
Wow.
So my son is all in Padre Pio too, and he loves Fulton Sheen. Yeah, well, she's not a saint yet, but he's gonna be. But they're just, for some reason, I think they're holding him up or something. But anyway, there's political crap to some of that stuff. But anyway, so science of piety is science of the saints. Go find your saint.
And you're so
others.
cute. You are so, Hen is so amazing. She's so
So
passionate.
rude.
She's so passionate in her faith.
I get excited.
Yeah, and it's awesome because that's what you're supposed to be, on fire. It's in the Bible. God does not want us warm. He wants us either cold or on fire.
Yeah,
so we need to stay on fire.
But you see, Jeanette wasn't thinking about her saints, and me getting all excited reminded her about her experience that she just shared, a beautiful experience. That's what, yeah, but that's what we have to do when we talk about this. When you talk with people that are doing those things, look what it brought out of Jeanette today. So don't be afraid. Like people say, oh, you talk too much. No, talk a lot, because it will make people remember stuff, and they'll be fighting with you to get airtime, which Jeanette does with me, and I love it.
Like I fight with Hen sometimes, you know, like I let me finish what I'm gonna say, but she can't because she's too excited, which is cool. I mean, it's okay. I mean,
she forgets like I do, so
yeah, we're fine, you know. Whatever.
But you know what? I couldn't get Jeanette to say much in the before, and when she fights me for airtime, that's my favorite time. I'm a warrior. I don't like to say Aries, but I'm an Aries, and I like to fight. I'm a warrior. And so when Jeanette is fighting me for airtime, that's exciting to me. I'm like, yes, fight, girl, fight for that airtime. Bold.
You're funny.
I want her bold. Stay bold. Jeanette, what is the prayer for bold? You know it because you do it.
Bold? What prayer for bold?
Jeanette, when you put on the armor of God, what do you say? Be bold.
Yeah, you have to be bold in your faith. Yeah, you have to be bold in your faith, and you got to stand, and it's at the end of the prayer.
Ephesians
6:20, I believe it's
10 through 20 or something.
Yeah, 10 through 20.
She says it every day. That's her. That's
the armor of God. Yeah, it's the armor of God. You put it on every day, and you go out in the world, and you got to be bold in your faith. You got to stand bold, and you got to speak boldly about your beliefs, because you know, somebody will want to, you know, somebody will see Christ in you, and they will say, wow, why is she so happy and always happy and motivated and always never gives up, and everything that happens to her, all these trials she's been through, but she keeps going, and that must be God. That, you know, something is in her, and that's what God wants us to show people, him through us. We need to be
Christ to others. Another thing Jeanette always says.
We need to show Christ through ourselves, our lives, and our love. It's all about love. At the end of your life, it's just going to be you and God. You're not going to have to impress anybody, or what are they going to say? You know, they're looking at me, or how embarrassing. No, it's going to be you and God.
And you see why she's saying that is because she used to be that way, and she learned her faith and became more bold. And the more we have done these things, the more bold she's become, which I love.
Okay, guys.
Bye,
love you guys.
Rosary.
Today, yes.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye, guys.